bit about my backstory.
Yeah, everybody sort of seems to have very similar. Where a hard time talking with the doctors and getting the doctors on board. Seems they're always very hesitant to even diagnose these skin mites, regardless of what kind of symptoms you're coming to them with. It just sort of seems like they're just very reluctant always to come up with that kind of diagnosis.
I'm not surprised, only because I'm very familiar with dealing with this due to my diagnosis of Lyme disease, which came about 5 years prior. I did not have mites when I had the Lyme, but there's a whole group that will lead people to doctors that are, they do not take insurance. Those types of doctors seem to be flexible with any type of zoonotic, which is mite, a parasite, and can help you. But the cost of some of these drugs are very high, and sometimes that puts people in a situation.
What do you mean, like the permethrin cream, for example, those kinds of drugs, or? Well,
permethrin is, for me, it was $71 a tube, but
yeah, that's ridiculous.
I purchased it, but it because it wasn't the regular scabies that they note in the CDC. It did give relief, but I would have started myself on the ivermectin, which I have not taken yet. I use protocols, and I have a doctor's appointment with a good doctor on the 12th of this month, and I can't wait to update the group when I get her opinion.
Yeah. Yeah, it'll be really interesting to a lot of doctors, for many doctors, they'll meet with you and, if they'll prescribe you some ivermectin and help you, to find some relief. For many people, though, a couple of doses of ivermectin and a tube or two of the permethrin cream doesn't always knock it out completely, and they end up in this cycle where they're unable to completely eradicate the mites. So it becomes sort of like a cycle that because a lot of the doctors, they just won't, they can't fathom that a single dose of ivermectin wouldn't cure it, so it becomes a vicious cycle.
Sad. I think they're going from the CDC guidelines, and I think there's only several people that break that down for the doctors to determine a diagnosis. And I love the letter that on the group that was compromised by a group member to the CDC to broaden their perspective on what we are going through and what many people are going through with this resistant mite.
I know for many of us, this is the first time we've had a chance to actually hear the voice of another person that's going through what we're going through, and it's probably welcome to be able to actually hear somebody else relate that they're going through the exact same thing, because the doctors, for the most part, seem to be quick to dismiss you as delusional and or misdiagnose it as something else.
We're the community. It's up to us to really, even though we are all in different places as far as our progress or lack thereof, it's up to us to make this advocacy and education group happen. And I know some people are worried about, being public. I don't give a shit. I'm like, you know what? I'll go out and I'll tell everybody, because you know what? This is a fucking public service announcement. This is a public health crisis. And this is serious. People are going into comas. People are going into mental institutions. People are getting divorced. They're losing everything they own. This is huge. So,
Not to mention the people that are on the verge of suicide.
Yeah, I'm one of them. So I'm going to go to the mountaintop and be like, hey, dude, this shit's going on. My boyfriend's going to kill me because he's very private person. But I think even if we don't do that, maybe somebody's good at web, or somebody's good at marketing or advertising, whatever. We have to use our skills to create this, because other people in the future are going to need these resources that you and I don't have.
No doubt, and I believe that what we're doing tonight is beyond exciting for all of us, because this is networking, and I noticed that Jane Ishka, the book Year of the Mite that just was released, I have yet to read, but I have found the group through her page, and plan on ordering the book. The protocols that she suggests are ones that it seems that we all lean on. So any kind of advocacy that can come from publicly stepping out and by doing things like this, I think that's great. I think it's great to be in your heart and all our hearts, because we are suffering and we are trying to make improvements.
Absolutely. I do think it's very important, because I think so much of us go through a situation where we'll go to speak with doctors or someone from the medical community, and they will completely act in like you're just saying something that just can't possibly be true. So many people, I get, people get parasitosis, some sort of delusional diagnosis, and that is just not possible. And finding in these groups, people can see that they're not alone. It's not just happening to them, and all the stories. If you go through, at the different groups, reading a lot at Cure Zone or at the topics board, everybody has very similar stories of dealing with doctors and people from the medical community, and something needs to change. It just can't continue like this.
Right. That's why we have to be visible. Maybe some people are scared to be visible, but maybe they can help in other ways. But I'm like, let's get the shit out there, man.
I believe our medical system is at a crossroads where, because of insurance policies with the doctors and them being employers of the insurance, and these big corporations, they are giving guidelines. I know for a fact that some of these places would never consider prescribing even ivermectin to a patient. And I think that might even be beyond what we know and more into their legal aspects. And I think doctors are people too, but their hands are tied. Some of them do get angry with the system. The best way that I found a doctor to work with is honestly to look up a Lyme literate doctor. Even if you don't have Lyme, they will test you. They will guide you in the right direction. The entomonologists If you get one from school, a smaller school, especially if you do not have to pay for them to dictate what you have as a sample, that is great. But we can also be our own advocates as a group. Power in numbers.
Well, it's interesting because I'm in New York City, you know, and I can't find a Lyme literate doctor that is educated about this. They don't know about this.
I don't think any one of us has found a doctor that's educated in this. Matter of fact, going through all these years of this madness, majority of the time I was educated doctors myself. Mm-hmm. The doctors that I came across and was talking to, they never heard of ivermectin. And they just thought pretty much, well, here, let me give you a tube of permethrin, it'll make it go away. But unfortunately, that's not the case. And even after taking a year and a half of ivermectin, I'm not even cured. So it's obvious that ivermectin is not even working either. It's just that I personally don't have any faith in the medical system. A lot of our doctors here in America is pretty much just textbook doctors. I've mentioned this to several members, that I've talked to in the past. Normally, a doctor diagnoses a patient, leaves the room, runs it through a database, and whatever criteria fits, whatever the information that it pulls up, he prescribes whatever medication comes up. So I just don't have faith in the medical system.
Not at all. I totally agree.
Realistically, it would be great if we could find a group of attorneys that will represent us, because I honestly truly believe we have some lawsuits. But it's just finding the right people, the right attorneys that would take this. And I would love. Can you imagine if doctors were started getting sued because of this type of misdiagnosis? They would actually start doing their homework. But it's just being able to find an attorney that will represent us.
My dad is trying to make me do that very thing. And,
right.
I am like, listen, I don't want to fight with anybody because I don't want to be locked up. And he is like a blown a china shop. But I'm like, listen, his lawyer used to be a priest.
Oh, bless his heart.
I know. He's a very kind man, but you know what? My dad was in business for a long time. My dad was cheated out of a significant amount of money, and his priest lawyer did not get him what he rightfully deserved. So I'm like, you know what? I appreciate the sentiment, but, your lawyer's just not going to cut it. Just I've seen how she has not helped you, and, but my dad is really wanting me to do that,
Right.
And I'm like, we don't have the right resources.
If we have enough people, just like you said, there's powers of numbers, where people will start believing. Realistically, I don't know how many of us, I don't know how many members that's on the phone right now, that's actually got diagnosed as delusional, but unfortunately I went through that mishap because of a doctor that pretty much just didn't care. They got tired of me, not just making appointments, but I was doing a lot of walk-ins too, pleading for help. And unfortunately, what we have is it can't be seen with the naked eye. It's microscopic. And they're so quick, they're so quick they're just pretty strong, just label as delusional. And I just believe that if there's enough of us that gets together, we can change things, especially for the future victims. And just the available meds here in the U.S., unfortunately, that's approved by the FDA, is only permethrin and ivermectin. Now, later on, after going through this ordeal, I did run into doctors that, obviously they knew that I had it, because, I ended up running into, God bless this doctor's heart, into a Filipino doctor, that was actually a practicing doctor, in the Philippines, so he already knew what I had. But because of his paperwork, and he was an ER doctor, so he was only able to help me so much. I had to go to a primary doctor, and another primary doctor, and I'm going through another medical group. So this way, when I went and seen this new medical group, I bought the paperwork, they believe me, they've seen everything, et cetera, et cetera.
It's a complete hassle getting doctors to do with you, and I think, everybody has, their experiences where, even knowing, even my experience, I had, a dermatologist, say, yes, okay, you have scabies, and they prescribed the ivermectin for me and everything, and I was really upset with the dermatologist because I had been seeing him with a while, and it took me a very long time, and he never came to the conclusion that I went to go see another specialist the same week, and the specialist, made the appointment and listened to me for 5 minutes, didn't even examine me, and again, said delusional parasitosis. When I already had the dermatologist having, said it is scabies, so it's sort of like the doctors will just blow you off just because they don't want to deal with it. And it hurts so many people,
Right.
What do we do?
I have found, especially living in the medical triangle, probably 50 to 75% of our commercials out here are commercials for medications. And there has been recently a lot of medications geared towards eczema. And that is kind of a hot topic when it comes to getting me angry, because anything that has to do with the skin and or an irritation needs to be looked into further. Even with the top of the line insurance, my mother was not offered a skin scraping to look for a parasite. It was more to look for a cancer or to look for something that would be, something that they could cover. Insurance companies probably, because this is the way it goes with life, do not have a section into where they can cover it, and doctors want to get paid, and they don't get paid.
The majority of the time, don't they normally if someone has scabies, the doctors normally pass it on as eczema anyway, because it just looks like the doctor sees a skin rash, they automatically think it's eczema or whatever. I heard a lot of cases where people literally had scabies, but they were misdiagnosed as eczema.
Well, again, it's going back to the doctors and the whole trying to make money off of it. These medications, permethrin or ivermectin, they're all very cheap. When I see people, be paying, $50, $70 for this little 10-ounce tube of permethrin, if you go online, you Google it, you can literally make liters of the stuff for $50. So the doctors, the part of the problem is the existing medication to treat this even doesn't even cost that much, and there's really no incentive for doctors to find a cure because the medications for this are just so cheap that it's not. Would you rather, if you were a business, would you rather sell a cure for 10 cents or an annual medication to treat the symptoms for $200 a year? There's no financial incentive for the pharmaceutical companies to release cures for this. Something that will truly knock it back too.
Right.
You guys are a smart group, man. I tell you.
That's where the morality, I think there's another word that they use for morality in the doctor's office.
Medicine in the United States is a business first.
Correct, yes.
You are a 15-minute appointment. Whether you're going to a specialist or a primary care, you are a 15-minute slot of time in an appointment book. You are basically, when you walk in, you are a walking ATM card to the insurance policy and the insurance money.
Yes.
And they're 10 minutes into that meeting with them, they're already thinking, how am I closing this and getting on to the next patient?
Yep.
Right.
Fortunately, that's just how it is.
Right.
It's not like that in Europe. I've dealt with European researchers.
It's not a glamorous, cancer that they're going to be, prescribing some sort of, $30,000 a year cancer medication for that's going to give them trips to Hawaii if they prescribe many, and so among the medical community, there's no incentive or desire even to root this out.
They don't cover this in medical school anyway. They cover scabies, they cover lice. They don't cover bird mites. Bird mites parasitizing humans is a relatively rare phenomenon to begin with because they go after immunocompromised people as hosts. Then going after, even poultry workers don't get parasitized by them. They might get bites, but they don't literally get parasitized where, you can't sit up on your furniture or your car. This is a unique thing happening, and even though it's rarely reported on the literature, people have been taught in this country that such a thing does not exist, that automatically you're labeled delusional, that the bird mites will not parasitize people, that it will not reproduce on human blood. I told a researcher at the University of Florida, my mites didn't get the memo, okay? Because they've been reproducing on my blood for 2 years.
The only thing that I have found is a window of hope for you to get a correct doctor. I have my Lyme doctor who has Lyme disease. She was a regular, like these other doctors, 10 minutes per, had the beeper when the time was over, and walking ATM card. But she ended up with it, and she actually had to leave the state because they would not allow that treatment for Lyme disease in this state. It does go by state, but now these doctors, and also even if you can get into a school, veterinarian, anything. But I would go for a Lyme doctor. My Lyme doctor is $90 a visit, just like a regular doctor. You get an hour, and then your insurance will cover your medication. They might ask why, but they'll cover it. So even though it's an odd thing for people because they say, oh, I don't have Lyme, it's something that I'm experienced getting the best results if I'm sick. she's my primary care physician, and I'd like to get her on the call list for the next street. I'm going to see her, and I'm going to see if she'll do it. And I think she might. I really do.
Would she work with people remotely?
Yeah, she does. She sees them in the office. She faces.
I think you talked about remotely, probably like maybe like a Skype session or something like that.
Yeah.
Well, she might do a consultation over the phone if you had faxed her your records, the medical records. And she might order a test.
The proof that I don't have. Yeah.
Well, she's open-minded to that, and she also she receives literature. The Lyme movement has been around a lot longer. I think that society, plagues come up and plagues go down. And when the Black Plague came up, of course, doctors, if that was now, they would brush it off, like the doctor in that one show mentioned about AIDS until it hit a higher epidemic for them to get access. So
absolutely.
That's how I see you guys.
How many people have to die from that unnecessarily?
Right.
Yeah, and I think it's really interesting how you brought up, the bubonic plague. Because the physicians go around saying that it's impossible for a parasite that feeds on, some sort of another animal to parasitize humans. And, well, then what was, the bubonic plague, where, is the flea of a rat, the virus of the flea of a rat that made people sick. Just how far down the rabbit hole that went. So, the physicians need to learn to, open up their thinking again, or this is really going to get severely out of hand.
And I think it already has been. Go ahead, Dr.
Yeah.
Murray.
There's a war on science going on right now. Even this week, they're deleting facts. They're being made to delete facts. I don't want to get into politics here, and anyone who knows me knows what I think, and that's that. But it's there's going to be a pushback of, I think, even more control by the corporate interests, and what their driving mechanism is, which is to make money. It's going to be even worse now. I see it happening. Well, which is what we don't want. We want the opposite. We want treatment. We want care.
Supply and demand, and the sad thing that I see, and I don't want to talk too much, but the sad thing what I do see is there are Lyme doctors out here, and they charge $700 for your first visit.
Wow.
That's not what I want to see doctors do for my.
Okay, there's 1,000 where I am, New York City. $1,000 to walk in the door.
But if you go on to Lyme.org, spend a week networking like I kind of did to get into this group, just to slowly get to know. You'll get a man or a woman to send a list, and there'll always be a primary care physician who probably has Lyme themselves, or maybe might themselves. That's how I got my foot in the door.
That's not the aliens. That's not the aliens website.
There probably is billions of people.
No, it's ILADS.
Yes, that is it. That's one of the main Lyme sites. Yes.
Because I need 3 doctors that are not. I know those 3 doctors. They're not good. They're not. I don't know.
I know you probably know me from the group. I could probably help. If I can get my doctor to tune into this, after I see her, which she'll be interested. She's very open-minded against the way things are going with medical. She can help network. She can help people network.
That's great.
That's what I've noticed. A lot of people.
Right.
Yeah. Well, I've been doing nothing but talking to people all day long, calling companies that, have different products and things that might be able to help me and help everybody and educate people. I'm just doing it all day long, and it's interesting how many people are receptive to it. They're receptive to what I have to say because I'm very detailed and I talk about the community that that we are, and what people are going through.
Right. In my situation, in my case, the last specialist that I've seen, I had an appointment and I've seen her, and I was pretty much pleading with her, saying, look, I really truly need help. Things are eating me alive. And it concerned me because normally when somebody goes to see a doctor, they supposedly supposed to have answers. She looked at me and told me, I don't know what to do. Every available medication that's out there to kill these things are not working on you. You know what I mean? And I'm looking at her, and I didn't know how to react. And I just pretty much, when I left, I said, that's it, I'm done. No one, now, the medical system can't help me. And I'm sure just like the majority of us in this group, we have no choice but to self-medicate. Do you know what I mean? It's great recommending the line doctor and everything, but if doctors like these, which are the specialists, only have a limited resources such as giving us the same medication that any other doctor would give us, then what can we do? I think the CDC needs to step up. I totally believe that they're already aware of this, but they're not making it a priority. I was just talking to Charles yesterday, about, I honestly believe that the medication that's available, in the event if you better to get it, then yes, there's a very high possibility that it will work. But what do you do when there's individuals out there that are being misdiagnosed because of the doctors with lack of knowledge, or they just don't care, or it gets to the point where it's pretty much already too late? These might live to lay eggs. And the higher the mite population that you have, the more egg laying that's happening. Where it's to the point where poison medications, or however you want to call them, just don't work.